Okay, here we go. We're gonna make our flip book, and this will be a left side. So you know what that means? That means extra work for you, and extra meaning above and beyond, not extra like lots of work. That means you're gonna show me your thinking and what you learned about the steps to the scientific method. All right, let's get our flip book ready. So you should have this cut out by now, okay? Because we cut that out in the first lesson. See these little lines right here? You're gonna cut to that dotted line. So in this flip book, the dotted line means fold. So we're gonna cut, and we're gonna make flaps. And hopefully you can see this okay. There we go. So we have flaps now, and we have cut. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 flaps. Now you've got to kind of fold them all over so they make doors. I find it easier to cut the flaps first. Some of you might be saying, why didn't you fold first and then cut the flaps? I guess it doesn't matter. I just don't like to accidentally cut 2 layers. So I cut, then fold. So now you should have a flip book, which of course books open from the right. So you have your doors and your flip book, okay? All right, we're not gonna glue him in until we're done with it. And when I say done, I mean done with me. You will be spending some extra time using the first video of Mrs. Preston teaching you live in front of the board what the scientific method is. So again, if you're listening to this video and it's the first science video you've heard today, you need to go back and do them in order. Then you should have listened and watched the second video of Mrs. Preston getting your notes for the scientific method into your notebook. And we just took some notes in our textbook page. So if you didn't do that, you need to stop this video and go back to this one. Now we're ready to create our flip book. And we should have colored pencils because we're gonna make this colorful. It's gonna go on our left side. So the steps to the scientific method, okay? If you are looking in your notebook, because you did this with me, we're gonna make a flip book of this information right here. So what's the first step that a scientist does when they're ready to test something? Well, they come up with a problem. So we're gonna write problem. You can write it kind of big. That's gonna be the title of your first flap. Scientists come up with a problem, and they usually state it as a question. So let's put a big question mark there. And let's underline this P. We can underline them a couple times. Okay, what's the next step? Okay, look at number 2 in your notebook page. Hopefully you're saying, I think it's research, because that's what we highlighted for number 2. You're right. Scientists will come up with a problem, and then they'll do a little research. Remember, you can pause this video. Let's underline our R. Okay, what about the third thing? So the scientist has come up with a problem. They've stated as a question. They've done a little research. Now they're ready to form a hypothesis. Make sure you're spelling right. Okay. Underline your H. There's a reason I'm underlining. It'll help us with our riddle. We've got to remember these in order. After our hypothesis, we are ready to conduct our experiment. That's where we come up with a procedure. We follow in order so we don't mess anything up. We have materials. Okay, look in your notebook. We're gonna put 3 words on one flap because they go together. While I'm doing my experiment, I am going to collect, graph, and study my data. So we're going to underline C, G, S. All right, so scientists, they've come up with a problem or a question that they can test. They've done a little research on whatever the topic is that they're testing. They might be doing an experiment on somebody's vision, like a testable experiment on something to do with eyesight. They might research eyes. Problem, research, formed a hypothesis of what they think their results would be based on their observations and their research. Then they're ready to conduct their experiment. They don't go right to their experiment before doing this. That's where they come up with their procedure of what they're actually going to do, or hands-on. While their experiment's going on, they are collecting, graphing, and studying data. And once they've gone through all these steps for their testable experiment, they can sometimes, well, they will always have a conclusion, but it might not be what they thought. But this guy will come very last. Conclusion. Okay, I kind of like to color code things to help me remember too. So let's get our colored pencils out and let's use a purple for problem. I gotta find a purple. I think I found one. No, that is blue. I have a hard time with my colored pencils. Where's my purple? This has to be purple. Yes, okay. I'm gonna do, and you're gonna make him colorful. I'm very color oriented. Anything that helps me remember things, because I have to remember these steps in order and what they all are. So a problem is the scientist's question they want to test. How about research? Yes, of course, we're going to use red. Scientists are going to state their problem, then they're going to go and do a little research. And probably when you get into middle school, you'll be doing a science experiment and you'll have to follow these steps. So research means you go out and you look on the internet, you study your topic. If you're doing an experiment on eyesight, that means you are testing something with someone's eyesight. You would have to go research eyeballs. All right, this is a weird thing, but H, there's not really a color that starts with H, but the color honey does, so I'm gonna use yellow. So you've stated your problem. You have done a little research. You are ready to form a hypothesis, which hopefully you remember that means an educated guess. And once you've formed your hypothesis, remember I go a little fast, so you might want to pause your videos. You're going to start your experiment. We're going to do him green because this is when you get to go. This is when you get to go. So green's going to remind me I get to go do it. Miss Preston has weird ways of remembering things. Okay. Oh, this is your procedure. This is when you have all your you're actually doing it. Step 1, you do this. Step 2, you do this. And collect, graph, and study. We're going to make it all these colors. So we're going to do collect because we're kind of doing a lot at once. This is when you are doing your experiment and you are kind of putting it all into one. color am I missing? I'm missing red. Guess we'll do that if we get red. And this is when you are collecting, graphing, and studying your data while you're doing your experiment. So you've stated a problem, you've done a little research, you formed a hypothesis statement of what you think it's going to happen at the end. Now you're doing your experiment, and while you're doing it, you're collecting, graphing, and studying all your data. And last but not least, in our riddle, you're going to eat those cookies. So we're going to do conclusion brown, because when you really get good at the riddle to remember these steps in order, your conclusion is the end result. And that means you get to enjoy your chewy, gooey, soft cookie. Okay. I'm going to get you started, and you're going to finish this flip book on your own, okay? And when I say on your own, you're going to use anything in your notebook on your right side that will help you, and any information in your science text on the pages that I've listed, which are 26 and 27, and 32 through 35, which are listed in this assignment. And you're going to finish your flip book using those pages with lots of information you can read and pull out, or you can even look up the steps to the scientific method and find a definition or what each means, okay? I'm going to get you started, and then you're going to do this on your own, and you're going to finish your flip book just how we started. So let's think about problem. What is the problem? How are we going to remember what the problem means as the first step of the scientific method? Well, to me, I remember it being when a scientist usually asks a question. That's what the problem means to me. Or it's when a scientist wonders something. I'm out of room. Oh, lucky for you, you have two sides. A problem can also be when it's something a scientist wants an answer to. Okay, now if we were together in class, we would have come up with these as a group, and we would have shared out what's in our mind. So what pops in your mind when I say research? Okay, some of you might be thinking about a computer or a book. Those are all great things to have pop in your head. So problem, to me, means something that is a question a scientist is asking, or something a scientist wonders about, or something a scientist wants an answer to. That's what problem means to me. So you're the me, you're the scientist thinking. So what is research? What pops in your mind when you hear the word research? Ooh, I hear some of you talking to yourself. What does research mean, Mrs. Preston? Oh, that means when we study something. Ooh, what else could research mean? I think I heard somebody say, look things up. That's what it means to me, Miss Preston. What else could research mean? Find new information on topics. Perhaps you have another thought in your head. That's good. This is your left side. This is going to be mostly your thinking. You can write it over here. Add more. Okay, we're going to do one more. I'm just getting you started. So what's a hypothesis? Ooh, that's a fancy word. I might need to go look that up again in this book. Or I might need to look at my notes here. What is a hypothesis? Ooh, Let's see if you have the same thought in your head that I have. What's a hypothesis? Ooh. I think I heard someone say a possible, underline that, answer to a question. That's a hypothesis. Ooh, I think I heard someone say, it's like a good guess. It's a good, I'm going to put another word, educated guess on what may happen. Okay? Ooh, maybe you have another thought of what a hypothesis means to you, or what it could be, how I'm going to remember it. You can write it over here. Okay, so we've done the first 3 boxes together, but I'm going to expect that you'll add more. Problem to us means it usually is when a scientist asks a question or wonders about something, or it's something a scientist wants an answer to. So what was research? Research is when we study something, or we look things up, or we find new information on topics. Perhaps you could write a couple more notes, because this is your left side. That means you have to go above and beyond of what research means to you. You can add more over here. And we did hypothesis. A hypothesis to me is a possible answer to a question or a good educated guess on what may happen. I'm going to challenge you to come up with some other things that will help you remember what a hypothesis is, or another way to show what that word means. Remember, you have a science textbook and you have a notebook, science textbook, and I've listed all the pages in this assignment. Okay, your job now is to finish this flip book. So you're going to think, what does the word experiment mean to you? Look it up. Use your science textbook. Use your right side notes. What is an experiment? And you're going to jot down not just one thought, because look at what Miss Preston did with you. At least 2 thoughts of what an experiment is. How would you describe to an alien from outer space what an experiment is? Same thing with collect, graph, and study. What do those words mean? What does it mean when you collect, graph, and study? How would you explain to an alien from outer space what these 3 words mean to you as a scientist? What are we doing when we collect? What are we doing when we graph? What are we doing when we study? Could be what we use, could be what we make. And you're going to jot some things in your flaps on what collect, graph, and study means to you. And you're going to do the same thing for a conclusion. What is a conclusion to you? And you're going to jot a few thoughts of what a conclusion means. Okay? All right, we're going to glue this into our left side. All right, I'm going to kind of beam you up a little. There we go. So you can kind of see both sides. We're going to glue him into our left side. You're not finished with him, but you're going to glue him in now. Okay. He's on your left side, this guy's on your right. Put enough glue down because he's a flip book, so he's a little heavier. You're gonna date your page at the top. You're gonna number it, which I already did was number 7. And you're gonna finish your flip book. So you've got 3 flaps to do on your own, But I would be expecting you to try to come up with your own thoughts for the first 3 flaps. So you are actually taking these words, learning them in order, the steps to the scientific method, and you're forming your own definitions for what these mean to you. And you have some resources to use. You have your notebook, right side notes, and I'm going to say it again. You have your textbook with the pages that we did in the first video of our notebook notes. We took some notes in there. All right, so you remember that riddle? Because you have to know these in order. So let's write our riddle off to the side. We're going to remember that problem stands for promptly. Research is going to stand for run. Hypothesis, we're going to run home. What are we going to do while we're promptly running home? We're going to eat. Promptly run home eating. Eating what? CGS. Chewy. Gooey. Soft. Chewy, gooey, soft. What are we? Promptly running home, eating chewy, gooey, soft what? Cookies. So that should help you remember the steps to the scientific method in order. Promptly, problem, run, research, home, hypothesis, eating, experiment, chewy, gooey, soft, collect, graph, study, cookies, conclusion is last. Okay, get going on your Flipbook. Use the resources I told you to use. Come up with some of your own definitions of what these words mean and add to these 3. Remember, left sides are worth more.